Do you dare to step into the shadows where the walls whisper secrets and the air is thick with fear? In the darkest corners of our world, we find ourselves drawn to the supernatural, the unexplainable, and the hilariously frightening. Today, I bring you the tale that intertwines the realms of the living and the undead, where unexpected scares and laughter collide. It was a dark and stormy night on January 1st, 1993, and I was returning home with my friends, Jake, Peter, and Sarah, after an extravaganza New Year celebration party. We were drunk with joy and hoped that this year is going to be great in the city that all of us dreamed of living in. We were just shifted to Los Angeles to work on our new project and were living in a rented villa just near the forest. The people of the town were amazed to see us renting the place that was said to be haunted for a century. But all four of us never believed in ghosts until one of us became the victim. The house was an old creepy villa abandoned for many years, but thanks to Peter's artistry, it was a pretty good place that everyone was excited to see. But nearly around 2 a.m., Sarah heard a strange noise in the basement. She woke the rest of us up, and what we felt was scary. The smell of old oak wood and dust filled the air, and the smokes rising from the wooden floor with creaking floorboards turned everything spookier. Jake, who was always a prankster and scoffed at the existence of supernatural things, was missing. Everyone was expecting something scary from him. The atmosphere became eerier when the pictures on the walls started shaking, and it seemed like they were staring back at us. The voices from the basement intensified as if someone was being suffocated to death. As we moved forward to get out of our rooms, Jack greeted us dressed in a ghost costume and red eyes, shouting, "Pranked!" But nobody knew that the real prank of death was going to start after that. Jake turned off the horrific noises from the tape recorder and blew away the fire he was using to produce smoke in an eerie atmosphere. After cursing Jake, we got back to our rooms to sleep. A few moments passed and the ghostly music from the basement intensified. Strange noises started coming from the walls, and the paintings on the walls started rattling. We got out of our rooms again. Everyone was on edge that it was a prank by Jake again, and we laughed it off. But this time, it was not a prank because Jake, with goosebumps, was standing behind me. The voices from the basement grew more intense, like someone was shouting out for help from the death trap of a monster who was growling like a strong wolf. Jake suggested we should go for help. Peter, Sarah, and I stopped him, but he was in a trance of something that was taking him towards the basement. So we were not going to leave our friend alone and followed him back towards the basement, which was dimly lit. But there was no sign of a candle or light there. The crystal ball that Jake used to create essence was not there, but the burning oak wood smell intensified 1,000,000 times more, and it started shaking our heads. Suddenly, the crystal ball started to glow, and things became weirder when the shadows started appearing on the walls. The lights started flickering, the temperature dropped, and we heard footsteps coming from upstairs. We rushed out of the basement, but no one was there on the stairs. Strange whispers filled the atmosphere, and all the windows and doors started opening and closing themselves. After a few jerks, the windows and doors got locked. I took out my phone to call the police, but the phone stopped working. We started to panic after sensing real danger and tried to break down the doors, but the old doors were too strong. It was confirmed that none of us was going to get out of this house alive. As the night wore on, screams started coming from different parts of the house, but they were not of supernatural things. They were us, running and screaming because something was after us. Drowned in sweat, we tried to stick together, but something kept separating us. The house was playing games with us, moving furniture and locked doors, but something was still crazy yet frightening. Yeah, you got it right. Jake was again missing. Stuck in the trouble, none of us thought about finding him because it was clear that he had again set up a prank. However, the moving furniture, disappeared network, and locked doors, like they were never opened, was still squeezing my heart. A few minutes passed in total silence, but no one was brave enough to move. We were lying on the floor as someone had raided the houses and beaten us. My bones were aching like somebody had turned them to dust. The silence broke with a scream, and damn, that was Jake from the basement. He was screaming, "Help, help, Peter, Sarah, help, I'm dying, please help, this is not a prank." Once again, all of us got caught in fear. None of us was ready to go to the basement, but Sarah, who was in love with Jake, made the first move. Peter and I decided to follow her, but as we began to move, the floor started shaking and the glass on the paintings broke as if someone was hammering them. Jake kept on calling for help, but we were unable to move. His voice was the message that something was there trying to kill him, and he was shaking with fear. The ghostly voices started coming from the basement again. The floor trembled, doors were being beaten like drums, and the screams from the basement grew intense. Jack was running to escape, and the voice said, "Jake, my son, it's time to pay the price." We rushed towards the basement because Sarah already got there. What we saw scared the hell out of us. A ghostly figure was standing behind Jake, and he had his eyes shut like a pigeon. The ghostly figure caught him from his neck, and its teeth grew longer. Blood was dripping from its teeth, and his hands were like a huge gorilla. It was screaming like a huge wolf, and its eyes were glowing like he was here to celebrate something and drink the blood of our dear friend Jake. We froze with fear when Sarah tried to hit the monster with a long iron rod. In a blink of an eye, she threw the rod towards it that hit him on his back. It was huge like a mountain and taller than the height of the villa, but it mysteriously got fit into the basement. After being hit, the figure screamed and threw Sarah away with it. She fainted. The next move was to be made by us, but we froze with terror when the monster sniffed Jake like he was what it was looking for. Soon, wind started blowing, and a thunderstorm raged like it was already playing the sirens of death. The ghost gobbled Jake and broke his spine, after which our friend was no more. Peter and I were already drowning in fear, and when we saw this murderous rage in the ghost's eyes, we fainted without taking the next breath. The next day, I woke up to the sirens of a police car while Peter and Sarah were already being investigated. It was evident from their faces that something had shaken the cores of their hearts. But the most surprising thing was, Jake's body was not there. We never knew where it went. There was no sign of shattered photo frames. The furniture was at its place. The basement was all aligned, and the iron rod was still at the place from where Sarah picked it up. After the police got finished with the investigation, all three of us resigned from the project and got back to our homes carrying memories of the death of our dearest friend inside our hearts with a terror that still gives us goosebumps every night. I was pretty much sure that the ghost was trapped in the villa for years, and Jake had set it free with his prank. But later, in 1997, I heard about a family that was attacked at the same house again, and all the members disappeared like Jake. Their family searched for them and found some clues in the forest, but there was no trace of their whereabouts. It was as if they had vanished into thin air. In the end, I can only say the haunted house had claimed its victims, and it would continue to do so as long as it stands. God bless Jake.